Hey everybody, and welcome to Volume 54 of the One Piece Virgin Eggheads Book Club podcast covering chapters 503 to 512. I am the captain of the 1,000 Virgins. That's right, Mumkey D. Jones, joined as always by your Virgin Vice Captain, Eggy V. Rodriguez.
But you can call me Cannonball Rider, and I'm not talking about Burt Bacharach.
Now, Eggy, we've done 52 episodes of this, so you might think that's been 52 weeks, a full year, but I looked, and Volume 1 came out like in early September. We are recording this in early August, so there's like a 2-week delay on the release and anything, but I guess we did 2 volumes, I think, during Syrup Village back in the day, but still, our 1-year podcast anniversary might not be until like Volume 54.
Well, I think there might have also been, I know for sure, it's not going to be exactly on point, but I think if I remember correctly, we might have recorded a couple ahead of time before the first one was ever published. I think we might have had 3 or 4 in the vault when we put the first one up onto the YouTube
that would
channel.
make sense.
That might have a little something to do with it as well, but...
Speaking of which, people who are members of the Mumkey D. Jones YouTube channel might notice we're doing this episode extremely early in the week. Usually we record these on Wednesdays. Today is a Sunday. Eggy, what happened? Why are we doing this so early?
Well, I have to say, if I wager my best guess, there's probably a couple things I could say, but I think it had to do with the fact that after we finished the last volume, it was such a cliffhanger for me that the second that we stopped, well, it was the second we stopped, we actually had to go help Rusty Cage do his tech support on his Discord channel. But immediately after that, I went right to my gaming laptop and I said, "Next page, please," because I got to know how it's going down. And so since I read it, I mean, about as soon as a man could possibly read it, I mentioned that to my captain, Mr. Jimmy-in, and he said, "Well, you know what? Well, you got it. I don't want
you don't want it to sit in your brain for 6 days, and you lose little details and stuff. So, I think it's better to review it as soon after reading it as possible." But Eggy, has this ever happened before? Is this the quickest you had to continue reading the next volume based on the cliffhanger?
I think so. I really do believe because I feel like.
What about the ending of the previous volume was so gripping to you more than anything that has come before?
Well, I guess even with Enies Lobby, I don't know, because we had some pretty strong circumstances there as well, but this was just something where I think. We're in, I mentioned this in the last episode, I think. We're basically in what I would consider to be like the new version of Mocktown, the new version of Logtown. We're in, this new hub for the latest and greatest, the strongest rookies, the 100 million bounty pirates, captains, there's many of them. So it's a new locale with a lot of new, strong, interesting, confusing, and mysterious opponents. We have the Celestial Dragons, we have... a need to seek out a man to code our ship so we can go to Fishman Island, and OMG, it's fucking Silver's Rayleigh, the first mate of the Gold Roger Oro Jackson crew. I mean, holy shit. And so we're so loaded with everything like that. I mean, it would have been enticing without any kind of cliffhanger ending, I think, even just to know that everybody's all grouped up together like this, but for it to have Luffy crashing through the wall and the flying fish, where's Kami? Hachi's getting shot. I think he's going to recover, but he sure was pouring out a lot of blood. Maybe octopus fishmen just have more blood than usual, but I mean, he was oozing pretty good, so it's like, holy shit. And then Luffy just punching right through St. Charlos's head bubble and basically popping his head like a bubble, knocking him out cold.
And we did watch the anime episode of this. I'm sure a lot of people recommended that we should in the comments by this point. Did you like the anime adaptation? People often say Luffy punched Charlos so hard that they turned the anime into the manga. He broke dimensions in reality.
I feel like the scale of the auction house was, in my opinion, more... it was portrayed better in the anime than the manga, I feel like, or at least at a grander scale. Because like in the manga, I mean, I'm sure there was probably a panel here or there that exhibited that, but as I'm reading the manga, you know, I'm really just focused on some of these particular interesting pirate captains. I'm focused on the Celestial Dragons. I'm focused on the Straw Hats and the particular auction that's going on at the moment. Whereas I feel like in the anime, you're getting just this huge scope. We're scrolling over a lot of people in the audience, so that there's attention to the whole amount of people that are there versus just kind of like where the manga panels focus on. So that was a change I noticed, and you know the action, the intensity is conveyed very well. I think I wasn't missing any of that from the manga, but the anime did a good job in bringing that energy that we were looking for, I think.
Yeah, it's one of the few scenes where I think slowing it down and really letting us percolate in the tension of the moment is almost better in the anime. So that's an episode worth watching, and I think that is the approach for the anime, is that every now and then you should just check out a solid episode that adapts an amazing scene. But if you're sitting through all 1,200 episodes, you really need to like calculate how much time you have on this earth and how much of that you're dedicating to filler. But I digest my delicious thoughts and move on to Eggy. What are your top of mind thoughts from volume 52?
Well, you know, I thought about it quite a bit. There is a lot of interesting things to consider. It's a very intense volume, but I think if I really have to choose, I think Home Admiral Kizaru, this motherfucker is hell on wheels, more like hell on a cannonball, flying right at your head. Yes. I'm going to tell you that much.
That's a great intro. He rides in standing just perfectly straight on a cannonball. It explodes and he's just standing there like nothing happened.
Kizaru, he embodies an archetype of villain that I think I do appreciate even more than some. We have like, you know, Arlong and Crocodile and Buggy, who all have these cartoonish aspects, and not just in the devil fruits, because I'm imagining that Kizaru is a devil fruit based on some of the abilities that I've seen of his, because I don't know how else
he tells us his fruit in this volume.
Right.
It's the glint, which I wouldn't have guessed that as the name. I mean, light is right there, but...
Could he be the Flash? Anyhow.
Sure, yeah. Hey, do you know what Kizaru means? Because we learn his real name, I think, is Borsalino, but his military, nickname is Kizaru.
Well, I can't remember what property that I feel like I've heard it from, but if it's pronounced, if I were to watch the original anime with the voice acting and they say something like Kizaru, I feel like there's something that I recognize that from, but I don't really remember off the top of my head, to be honest.
And Kizaru is the yellow monkey. Did you get monkey energy from his presence as a villain? Is he terrifying and funny in a way? Because I think the way that he casually talks to people while he's also like a nuclear bomb that can just like kick at you and make it a huge explosion. Like it's if Bugs Bunny could blow you up with a nuke, like it's terrifying and funny.
I'm sure you're familiar with this, the old copy pasta of like, I think back, it goes far so back as that it was Robin Williams, but I saw Robin Williams at the supermarket today and he was like waving his hand in front of the cashier and like grabbing the scanner gun or whatever and saying like, it's interference and like, I forget exactly how it goes, but I'm sure a lot of us have read it to, get the gist of it. It kind of feels like Kizaru's combat style. It's like, what? Oh, that's odd. What? What? Whoa, huh? And then he just like kicks you through 10 buildings and within literally a split second to where you can't even see him move.
Yeah, he's like aloof and stupid. He doesn't understand how his simple snail technology works to talk to Sentomaru. So he's just like wasting time fucking up the supernovas, kind of just for fun.
And isn't this just like... Because I think the only other admiral I'm familiar with at this point is Aokiji. I'm subconsciously comparing Aokiji and Kizaru and their abilities and their demeanor and everything like that. And Aokiji, he's got this ice power. It's extremely powerful, just like the glint fruit is. And kind of feels a little bit cheap, but he's kind of got, he's a little more introspective, I think, from what we've seen from him. Whereas I feel like Kizaru really embodies the perfect personification of like massive government power. Like they don't really know what's going on, and they don't have to. They're just gonna kill you, and they'll kill everybody else that doesn't want them killing you. And then they still don't know what's going on, but they know they just did their job and they're getting paid for it. Now it's time to go back.
Yeah, the human embodiment of I'm just following orders, like the manifestation of that compiled into one man, and that ultimate power is literally the power of light itself, like one of the greatest forces in existence. With just, justice is blind. Maybe it needs to wear a blindfold to blind from the glint fruit. And that's, does that tie into his sense of justice as a Marine Admiral? I don't know if we have seen his code of justice yet, have we?
Yeah, I don't really feel like this.
What was Aokiji's? Was it like lazy justice or something? Because he's always napping. What was his? I don't remember. We'll figure it out some other time. Any other thoughts from your top of mind here?
Well, yeah, I guess just his presence, like his kind of unassuming appearance is sort of almost not disconnected, but like very hard to pinpoint exactly like what his thoughts are, other than basically if he's gonna get you, he's gonna just kill you right where you stand, and you're not even gonna be able to react to it because he's just built like that. And then also I felt that his power reminded me of Blackbeard, because Blackbeard had this like dark thing going on where he could take and bathe everything in this darkness. And when Kizaru gets attacked and he's able to essentially like kind of reminded me also how Nami's ability, where she's able to sort of like have an image of herself visible because of like light reflection power, but she's actually somewhere else. I think she used that when she was fighting I want to say Kitsune, but that's not her name. Khalifa. Yeah, I'm always gonna get. I have a list of CP9 names to the side of me now, so I stopped getting their names wrong every single time I talk about them. But
if only they did something more in this volume than go bowling. Not much from the cover stories this time, is there?
Oh well,
I was interested to learn that they have bowling alleys, though. That's new info. What were you saying? And I just cut you off about the cover story.
Oh well, their fight with the candy pirates, I enjoyed that towards the end.
Yeah, it's like one
finish
panel.
My thoughts on. But they're interesting. I don't know if we've had candy pirates. I feel like it's something that the world should have. It's giving me some good cartoonish energy to kind of compensate for Kizaru's cold, bureaucratic, power evil.
I would say in the live action, Captain Kuro had some candy ass pirates. No, that was the joke I interrupted you for. Please continue.
Well, just to finish my thoughts on Kizaru, he's able to basically like draw the light back in and just like reform his visage, and he's like back to business again. A big theme throughout this volume, I'll just say before I let you do your top of mind, is damn, fuck you, which is why I decided to bust out a nice grog. And also the cover of volume 52, everybody's got little cups of grog that they're like all toasting amongst themselves. So I figured, but kind of a kick in the pants on behalf of what the world government's bringing to the table in this volume. So I said, hey, you know what? Basically, I got a drink combo here because I hate the world government even more than I hate the Straw Hat Crew, to be honest.
At this point, do you think Luffy regrets punching Charlos? Was it not worth it at this point?
If we're going to capture the energy from really the end of the volume here.
Yeah, and for those some people listen along to this show who are caught up in One Piece and don't know like how the volumes end. So I guess I should frame the question this way. If you had to read this volume immediately because of the cliffhanger, were you satisfied? Because in my opinion, the cliffhanger on this one is perhaps even more intense. Are you jonesing to read the next one even more so? And let everybody know, how does this volume end?
Well, basically, not to, because we are going to cover everything, but at the conclusion of the volume, all the Straw Hats are basically within an inch of their life. They have defeated one Kuma-styled pacifista.
And all of them
They
use
also-
like their ultimate move just to beat the one, and then like 2 more show up with Kizaru and Sentomaru.
Yep.
So good.
And Sentomaru, just for a refresher, this is like the bodyguard, I guess, of or he's Dr. Vegapunk's bodyguard, and Dr. Vegapunk is the man who made the pacifistas. The Straw Hats, basically the entire Straw Hat crew, all expended every bit of energy to fight one pacifista, thinking that it was actually Warlord Kuma, and it was not. And then they have it ends with Silver's Raleigh. He hops in to save them from getting killed immediately, but then he is doing combat with Kizaru because they're both extremely powerful.
Now let me ask you this, Eggy. I need to pick your brain. Kizaru, he can turn into light, and we see people try to shoot him in the head, nothing happens. How can Rayleigh hit him with his leg and stop him? Stop the light man just by kicking him and by sword fighting him. How does he do that?
Well, I'm gonna guess somehow Hockey is able to like generate. We don't see this, but just knowing what I know about a lot of different anime, manga, video game stuff that I have historically utilized to try and make sense of things in this series doesn't always work. In fact, probably more often than not, it does not work. But that would be my first guess. Is I have like a Hockey energy field or something that can just also make contact with your glint fruit energy because my Hockey's so powerful that it just works just because.
Is it a coincidence that in this very same chapter we have Sentomaru hitting Luffy with blunt attacks that usually would not hurt a rubber man, but they are hurting him? Could it be Oda's introducing both of these things at the same time for a reason?
Well, with Sentomaru, I feel like my first guess there would be this is a bodyguard for the most advanced scientist in the entire world whose technology is 500 years ahead of everything. He's probably got like sea prism stones embedded in the weaponry or something.
It's funny you say that because I was about to bring up a lot of people had theories for a while that Rayleigh had like sea stones embedded in his sandals and that's how he could kick him, which that'd be brilliant. I don't see why that wouldn't work if Smoker can do that with his cane. So, lots of good ideas. Is it Hockey? Is it Sea Stone? It's got to be one of those two, probably. So we probably solved that one. I love that Kizaru uses a literal lightsaber to sword fight Rayleigh. It's literally Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader here, right? I mean, he's putting everything he loves into his story and making it make sense. And the fact that this character has a fucking lightsaber just as part of his light powers. I like that. But continue explaining to everybody how this ends here.
So basically, we have all the Straw Hats are in extremely beat down condition. They're more or less near death. We have one of the pacifista Kumas has been defeated. Then we also have a secondary pacifista Kuma and also Warlord Kuma and also Sentomaru and Kizaru, but at least Raleigh is kind of holding him off for the moment. And basically how it ends is everybody's just totally beat down, and the real Kuma, he just comes in at pretty much at the very end, maybe like the last handful of panels in chapter 512.
And we know it's him because he's got his goddamn Bible.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
And his pop pad, yeah.
Yeah, the past. Well, I guess technically, from as far as we know from seeing Kuma on Thriller Bark, that he is also a pacifista. I guess they all are, but he's like the base model, or like the actual warlord, and the other ones are just his clones, minions, whatever, however you want to frame them versus him. But I don't.
Since you just said minions, when we do our One Piece abridged, should all the pacifistas in Kuma talk like minions?
Well,
and Vegapunk has to talk like Gru.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say the first thing that came to mind for me was I don't think I've really got a good taste of Vegapunk's character yet. So,
well, keep waiting, buddy. Keep waiting. Just forget about him, to be honest.
Well, I mean, with all these damn pacifistas, it's a little hard in Sentomaru, but
yeah.
As far as anything else, any more in depth goes, I'll keep it on the back burner.
That he's voiced by Gru. Okay. So this ends with what happens at the very end?
Well, I guess the
The real Kuma shows up and does something bad.
Yeah, God, who's he standing over? Because everybody, I know just everybody's down, but did I have anything?
It's the title of the chapter, if that's what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah, Zoro gone.
Yeah. He pulls the old Perona and poops him away.
Yeah, the old vacation trick. Yeah. I was so minded because I think even just since his final attack on Thriller Bark, and then with both pacifistas, they've just been so offensive with their beam attacks and shockwaves and all that stuff that I was getting a little bit forgetful about Mr. Real Kuma's. So obviously the pacifista bots themselves do not have that capability, and that's why they just go full on the offense with their blasts and waves and so on.
So what are we to make of this? Did he just blast Zoro into the middle of the ocean to kill him? Like, where's he sending him?
Well, it's certainly not good, I would imagine. What I could say is he was extremely, extremely injured, so even if he's being sent off to like some sort of prison or like holding cell.
To impel down, perhaps.
Well, we know he's got that $120 million bounty, or 120 million berry bounty, rather.
Yeah, he's a big-time pirate. Send him to the big-time prison. What a good theory. Kuma sends the Straw Hats to impel down, and who happens to be there, huh?
Well, that's true. If I really wanted to, that would be a good additional reason to get them maybe off track of Fishman Island, because I feel like I mentioned that maybe a couple volumes ago when we were first getting on that direction, that I was like, well, I feel like Impel Down's going to have to play some role in here. And I think that was even before in the last volume they mentioned, okay, it's going to be the Navy is diverting some of their members there for the public execution of Portugas de Ace.
Yeah, all the way back, even in Eni's Lobby, they talked about this triangle of Marine headquarters of Eni's Lobby, Impel Down, and Marineford. So for the story to just like go through the red line and abandon all of that, it's a choice. Maybe it'll come back to it someday, or maybe you're right. Maybe we'll hit something up sooner than later.
This kind of reminds me of how I live my life. I like to just try to trudge full speed ahead to wherever I'm going and not paying attention to anything else. But, enough hands are coming up out of the ground and grabbing my ankles to turn me to the more important things sometimes. So I think it's something kind of like that, You can't get to where you need to be. If you got some pressing issues you got to tend to along the way, and I guess the more the merrier. If you got Ace and Zoro and who knows what else, because everyone's still in tough shape, and Mr. Kuma, well, he ain't going to be saying a prayer other than to say R.I.P., I think, more or less, if he has his way.
And I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I'll say, I think perhaps the greatest shame in One Piece history is that this volume did not have one more chapter. And I don't know if that gives you any context or guess as to what one more chapter might entail, but I think ending a volume on the next chapter would have been the greatest cliffhanger in One Piece history by far. Well, but this one alone, with Zoro getting zapped away, that's pretty good. The next chapter's even better.
When you say that, you know what that makes me think?
Let's hear it.
It makes you think Kuma's going to also just walk up to all the rest of the Straw Hats and then teleport them to Impel Down, and they're all going to have to get out of there together somehow.
Do you think I would spoil exactly what happens through theorizing with you, Eggy? Would I really ruin the story for you like that?
But if, let's say, if that's a good theory as to where Zoro would be sent, because I guess he could just kill him.
Where else would he send him on vacation?
Maybe send him back to his hometown. We got that flashback on him a while back. Maybe it's time to go visit. That would be kind of probably convoluted and not at all in line with anything that would actually make a good story. But part of me
to send him back to the East Blue.
If there was like a filler movie or something where Kuma teleports everybody back to their hometown and they all have to find each other again. That's probably sounds
Is that
stupid
anything
to
other than boring as fuck? What are the stakes? Because now it's Grand Line powerful, so they were too strong for the East Blue to begin with.
Yeah, but it would be kind of charming though too to kind of get back and be able to see everybody and just tell them a little bit and then be like, okay, we got to go, and maybe there'd be some big what was the wave called that shot over the sky? Like some kind of visible effect that they could all get around. But maybe this is something that as I get further in the story and I'm able to progress and learn more and be open to more of the One Piece video games that exist without spoiling myself, I do hope that if there's not certain filler movies that could like scratch some of my theoretical itches, hoping maybe some of these video games will have like some unusual storylines, or even just in some of the like Grand Adventure or whatever, the one that I was playing for the PS2, I think their story mode, I think maybe it's based off like 4Kids or something. It's not exactly like they'll reach similar conclusions, but it's not exactly what it's portrayed in the manga. And some of those alternate things, they're just kind of interesting, kind of a little bit of fun. So, I just every bit is just more that I can explore in the One Piece universe. I'm really on an adventure along with them, and it feels good. Excuse me.
Well, let's talk about your theories of how the Straw Hats get out of this. One option, Kuma just teleports them all to Impel Down and they're fucked. Do you have any other ideas? Because the stakes are... the situation's pretty grim. Everybody's at like 1% health. We've got light speed. Your goal is to evade and run away from somebody who moves at the speed of light. Like, this is as fucked of a situation as you can imagine. Plus, all these Kumas running around. How do you see them getting out of this alive, Eggy?
Well, I guess to lean in on what my current theories have been and what we've got to work with here in Chapter 512, I think probably the best bet for everybody. It's a little risky. It's like, Big Brother putting your ally up on the block. I think if Silver's Rayleigh surrenders to Kizaru and is like, oh, well, all right, I'll go in. I guess, I'll got to go sometime, haha. Now, if they were all in Impel Down or wherever together, some sort of Navy holding or Marine holding facility, I think this would be a strength in numbers kind of situation in the same way that they were able to overthrow Eni's lobby. I think they get them all together. Just the fact that they would be alive, because right now they're in such dire straits. They've expended their energy. I mean, which is crazy because Luffy, a little bit earlier in the volume, he's just out fighting Marines going Gear 2 just to like flex his giant arm, and they ain't no thing. He's just doing that for fun. It's not taxing at all. But he has to go like instant Gear 3 on one pacifista and burn out. But I think if they could get any amount of time to recover, even if it's on paper putting them in like a very perilous death sentence kind of situation, I think that once they're able to recover to full strength, and if they had somebody like Silver's with them to bounce some ideas off of, and his power is so incredible that they were going to
somebody who can rip collars off of you with his bare hands. That's pretty convenient, right, when you're locked up in prison. And just rip it off and throw it before it could explode.
100%, yeah. I think, that's why even before the attack on St. Charlos, the Marines had already been surrounding the auction hall because they knew that Silver's Rayleigh was in there, and they wanted to attempt to mount a capture on him, was how I read it anyway. That's how what it seemed like was going to happen.
How would you rank Sabaody Archipelago as an arc so far? Like, where's it leaning towards on the tier list?
Well, it's certainly stronger. Like I said, I've compared it to Mocktown, Logtown, and it's definitely stronger, I think, in my opinion, even though now maybe retroactively Dragon appearing at Logtown could be a bit more weight to it that I didn't really know at that time. But if I wanted to judge it in the moment, I think I would keep it where it is. Just in the fact that we had got to see the Thousand Sun use the Gaon cannon, so like that's a cool thing to note. Flying Fishmen, Duval and crew, the slave trade is an interesting something to have going on in the universe for it to be acknowledged the way that it is, and how it plays in with the world government's treatment of that, the corruption and insidious nature and everything. We get introduced to Kizaru, Silver's Rayleigh, just all the different interesting parts of the Sabaody archipelago. It certainly would be. It's got a little bit going for it. I mean, for sure. I would probably. I feel like I'd put it maybe at the very top of C, bottom of B right now. If I went to go look at my tier list, wherever that's at here.
Top of C, bottom of B. That seems
Yeah, I mean,
very
right now-
ungenerous. What's it missing? I think everything you named is pretty top tier stuff.
Yeah, I guess in the introduction to the other pirates with the 100 million, but it's just, my first thoughts before I dive into the content of it is that, it has been like under 2 volumes, so it's not super lengthy, which is usually like, that's historically been something that I lean towards, like if it needs a little bit of length on it to get a decent placement. But I guess when I do go back and look at my tier list here, this probably, objectively speaking, would be probably mid B tier, I guess, right now. Like, I would put it over Syrup Village, finally, like, something that would overcome that for me. But Little Garden, we still had the Baroque works and the Giants and everything like that. Orangetown might be getting a little bit too grandfathered in at this point, to be honest. Maybe I could put it up. Yeah, maybe I would just say, like, top of B tier, just, like, start saying, hey, at this point.
I think maybe once we hit time skip, we'll do a special episode reorganizing our tier list and see what needs to be moved. But
yeah,
I just wanted to poke your brain to see how you like the first 2 arcs the first 2 volumes of this arc so far. And,
it's certainly very dense on a lot of things that I enjoy. Like, I think I communicated that in the last episode too. This is, it feeds the curious part of me for the One Piece universe, and that's something I really enjoy just as much as any big fight or power reveal. Like, the intricacies, the lore, the environment, the customs, the culture of the pirates in these different areas and from different regions throughout different times, etc. Really speaks to me personally. I'd say I'm kind of a little bit of a Nico Robin myself, That's what the guy said in Spider-Man 2. I'm a little bit something of a Nico Robin myself.
Well, speaking of loving the lore, that's my top of mind. I want to talk about these amazing chapters where everybody's hanging out in Shacky's bar and Rayleigh's just chatting it up about how he knows everything in the world. We learned all the secrets and histories of this world, and I'll tell you the spoilers, Nico. If you really want to know, I'll tell you what the Willa D is. I'll tell you where the One Piece is. And, Luffy has to put his foot down.
I'll feed you this apple, I'll feed you it right now from this tree.
Yeah, imagine, like, this is probably coming out in, like, 2005 or 6-ish. And we just have this character offering the spoilers that won't actually be told for decades to come. Very ballsy and fun to put this kind of content in the story. But what are you saying?
That's what this actually, volume 52 was December 2008. So
okay, so still probably 2 decades before we get any of these answers, to be honest. Right. But just reading from my notes, here's some of the info we get here. Roger was not caught. He turned himself in. Did we know that before, Eggy?
It didn't surprise me, I guess, but I don't know if we ever had really a confirmation. I don't think that got spoiled at all in the live action. I don't think so. But for some reason, it didn't surprise me. I think probably the most, it is very informative, but I don't think that particular part surprised me. Maybe that's just me, though.
4 years before Roger's execution, he was afflicted with a terminal illness. So that probably explains why he turned himself in. He didn't really have much time left. Might as well send everybody else to go be pirates in his place, right? Is that kind of the idea?
Mm-hmm.
Usopp infers that Roger intentionally started the Age of Pirates, so good on Usopp for picking up what Ray was putting down. Roger's last words to Ray were, "I won't die, partner." How do you interpret that?
Well, I guess probably the most on its face interpretation, I would say, would be that his message that he was going to present, because there was that span of time from him saying this to Silvers before his execution, would be, yeah, I'm going to say this at my execution, or he knew that he was going to say that and spark this grand revolution, or this grand age of piracy that would keep his name and legacy alive for possibly forever. I mean, who knows where this One Piece is and what one place is it in, as the anime. So it's hard to say. It could be a perpetual hunt forever that always keeps his name alive, and it could certainly keep him from dying in that way.
It's like Dr. Hirluke said, when does a man die? When his name is forgotten, and Roger became a living legend. And as long as, like you're saying, as long as the search for One Piece lives on, so will Roger. Hopefully it's not a literal I won't die partner, and he's waiting at the One Piece for Luffy. I would fucking cringe and kill myself if that shit happened.
Law was in the audience at his execution and cast room over him, and when they chopped his head off, his head was still alive, and Law just picked him up and he's hiding him somewhere.
Yeah, replaced him with a cannonball. Oh, wow. Yeah. Roger's, he's doing blackface upon death.
Roger's the blackface Labubu.
Luffy finds out Shanks and Buggy were on Roger's crew, but we knew this, didn't we? We talked about this probably in Volume 2.
Yeah, when it's talking about Buggy's backstory. Yeah.
So I don't know if I spoiled that for you or if it was obvious enough, but I might have spoiled that. Did we know that Shanks was on Roger's crew from Volume 1 and 2? How did we come to that conclusion?
I think there was a connection between Shanks and Roger, and then I don't believe that it was communicated in the interaction in the past, but it was, I think, the first introduction of Whitebeard, like Whitebeard and Shanks communicating, was that right? I think maybe, it definitely came up at points. I don't know.
But it might have been a minor spoiler that doesn't actually matter, but if anything, just gives you more context for what is actually happening. So, a good spoiler, we could say, if that's what happened. Shanks says of Luffy, in the East Blue, there's a kid saying the exact same thing as Captain Roger, the very same words the captain said. Now, what could these words be? And I highly doubt it's I want to be king of the pirates, because do we not learn in these chapters that that's a title that was given to Roger by other people? It wasn't something he sought or named himself.
Well, I must confess, I know it's mentioned in this volume specifically, something that Luffy says, and I don't have it written down, but I believe, if I had to guess, it's a similar sentiment. He says that he doesn't want to conquer. It's all about who's the most free is the king of the pirates.
So perhaps Gold Roger said something like that, and in a world full of greedy, selfish men who want to conquer, Shanks was shocked to hear a child say something like that.
That's right.
I think that's a good theory. And I'm going to be honest, Eggy, we still do not know the answer, but that's a pretty good guess to go from like chapter 506 to already have a prediction that good. But yeah,
I mean, when we going off of the other things that are mentioned in this, like Roger having the terminal illness and turning himself in, he wasn't captured. For him to have conquered the Grand Line and to be king of the pirates and have this treasure and have seen everything that the world had to see, even Skypiea and everything. I mean, as far as we could ever possibly know, that's as free as it gets, and he still was not captured. He was turned in. He turned himself in because he was about to die, so it was really more a practical decision in order to spark this interest in piracy and in pursuit of the One Piece. So I think even at his last, I wouldn't say that he had ever been anything but free. So, and that's what Luffy is angling for. That's his number one thing, to be as free as can be.
Can we both agree right now we will pull a Gold Roger, and if either of us gets a terminal illness, we'll go out with a bang, let's say. We'll perhaps spark some sort of revolution that the world government won't like, because we'll have a life worth sacrificing with no time remaining. How about that? Everybody in the audience, that is the vow. As Virgin podcast listeners, if any of us get a terminal illness, something bad's happening to somebody.
Well,
who could say who?
The FBI used to come and talk to me at my door. I'd kind of be like, hey, you know what? never know what could happen. I was kind of feeling like I was
I'm perfectly healthy, officer. Don't worry. Not dying
like
soon.
I was in Grove 1 waiting for Kizaru to start flying in on the cannonball. I was ready for anything. It is what it is, but...
Waiting outside of Kizaru's golf course for 10 hours with a sniper rifle.
But those were my younger years. Now I just sit and I have a good grog here, and I'm just a nice man who likes to coat the slot machines. Airships. Battleships. Whatever.
Yeah, do you relate to Rayleigh, who I think in this very volume says it's time to go back to the casino, something like that?
And what can I say? I was a man. I was out there in the fields. I was clashing the swords. I was having great grand battles, and I overcame a lot. And now I like to play something that's called Joker Jewels, and I hit a 1,000 times bet today. So, I'm really feeling like Silver's Raleigh in his prime today. I can't lie. So I gotta say.
Well, I don't know about his prime. He might be a little past his prime, old man. And if you're predicting he does a self-sacrifice in the next volume, that might be some literal Obi-Wan Kenobi shit from A New Hope.
Well, I was thinking more. Since you mention it, I could see that coming into play, but I don't know if I would. We still need him to coat the ship, right? So I don't know.
Which
so fast,
it's going to take 3 days to coat the ship. Are we getting Zoro back here in 3 days?
If he's nipple down, no.
Might have to postpone the trip to Fishman Island just by a little bit. But I like the character development of Rayleigh just in this one volume, where at the auction house he says, okay, I used my power to knock everybody out, but for the Marines outside, it's up to you. I don't want to expose myself. I've been living here secretly for decades, and I don't want anybody to know. But then when Kizaru's about to get the kids, he has no choice. He says, fuck that. I guess I have to expose myself and ruin my dream retirement by fighting one of the toughest Marine admirals alive. Fuck. So, poor Rayleigh. But I like he says something like, don't pluck the sprouts or something, the buds, before they sprout. He's perhaps making some sort... we know he's making a sacrifice of his peace of mind, his peaceful life. But we'll see if he also sacrifices just his normal life. We have a new member of the Measly Crew, Eggy. This is Mr. Ron Gardo, and anybody can join $3 a month on the Mumkey D. Jones YouTube channel. You get the episodes 2 weeks early, possibly 3 weeks early now that we're doing this on a Sunday. Who knows what's going to happen? Plus, you can join the Discord. Eggy, what should Ron Gardo do on our ship?
Ron Gardo. Well, when you rearrange the letters in his name, it says Durango. And when I think of Durango, I think of like a countryman, like a cowboy, right?
Okay.
What do cowboys do? They smoke cigarettes, okay? Tobacco is something that I think every pirate should have. It enhances the cognitive ability, takes off a little bit of stress. I'm pretty sure they had spittoons and stuff back in the day. They were getting down with it. So we're going to...
So last week we got a bartender. This week we get a tobacco
all the
vendor.
food groups, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Alcohol and tobacco.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day,
it's motivation for a pirate crew. Yeah, that's right.
We ain't out here, upvoting Reddit posts to pat ourselves in the back, or whatever these fucking kids do nowadays. We're out here, we're swashbuckling, okay? And so, yeah, we need somebody to possibly at least tend to the tobacco. We might maybe harvest it from landfall in certain aspects, but, cure it, dry it.
Well, what would that title be? Because I know for weed it's a bud tender, which is cringe and stupid. What do you call it for a tobacco guy? Dr. Tobacco? That might be a good title.
Hey, there's definitely a term for it that I do not know off the top of my head. I'm going to call him the Backy Man.
Backy? Okay.
Yep.
Whatever that means, welcome aboard.
And this backy ain't wacky. It's gonna get you feeling right.
Okay, Eggy, where do we go from here? What's second top of mind from this volume?
Well, I enjoyed that after the last volume. We maybe got a little bit short on the explanations for the what do they call them? The
supernovas.
Yeah. The 11 supernovas. Yeah, we got a little cut off a little bit last time, and you know, that was all right because this volume we get everybody's still there, and we get to see some of these 100 million berry powers at play. And I gotta say, you know what, Oda, you're too good to me. I said, oh, the Scratch Man, Pooh, he's a pretty funny looking dude, but I was just like, his teeth almost look like piano keys or something. All of a sudden, what's in this volume?
It's like his elbow's a trumpet. Like, his whole body's a freakish instrument. And he can play them all, and it's like a supersonic devil fruit ability where if you hear it, you'll explode.
The most potent ability is everybody's getting completely like one finger is flipping you through like 100 buildings from Kizaru. But homeboy Scratch Man, you know what? You don't need to scratch it. He's got to scratch that what? That vinyl on the DJ.
Is it time for us to do Eggy's official Supernova ranking now that you've had their introduction plus, I guess, their fight with Kizaru? And really, is that their function, at least so far in this arc? Like, we're introducing all these characters that are supposed to be Luffy level, and then we watch them just get decimated by Kizaru pretty much easily. Was all of this just to build up Kizaru and hype him up?
Well, I think the way that it reads is that I would begrudgingly have to say yes, but we have, you know, Kid and Law kind of seem to be a cut above, and I think their bounties do reflect that.
And they literally stand shoulder to shoulder with Luffy, and they're able to do, they can repel anything he can repel, so as far as we can tell, they're equal to him.
Yeah. Man, maybe these other supernovas, they might just not have been taking it 100% serious. Like, I mean, Basil Hawkins, he was looking pretty cool, you know, in the introduction. He's got some triangle eyebrows, and you know, but I still don't know if I completely understand his ability with all this like probability stuff. I mean, I know about probability. That's why I've made a lot of money gambling. So you know, I know about probabilities and how you do your odds. But all this like straw, scarecrow. Like,
well, I think the best way to do this is we'll go through the list of all 11 of them and one by one talk about what we've seen from them and then get your ranking, perhaps a tier list ranking of them. And I've got them pulled open with their bounties and stuff if you want me to read them out one by one for us. Unless there's one you would like to start with. We could start with the Magician if you want.
Yeah, I guess I think just because I feel like, yeah, his
Basil Hawkins ability, with a 249 million bounty. That's pretty high. That's higher than Law.
Really?
Law's is only 200, I think.
I have the names written down, but I did not. I kind of just was generally grouping them together. Other than I kind of just decided Kid and Law were like the
Kid is 315, Luffy's 300. And Law's 200, so I think Hawkins might be the third highest at 249.
Well, I'm sure when Kizaru is not light speed kicking him through 10 buildings, I'm sure, I mean, he can apparently tell, he knows everything that's going to happen. He's got perfect future prediction, it seems like.
And did you get the impression Hawkins was being injured by these attacks? Because every time he gets hit, we see some random guy's head explode.
I don't fully understand his power, I think, from what I read, but yeah, it seemed like he was not being significantly injured by these attacks, no.
I think what is crazy is Oda, and the rumor has it, Oda did not have these 11 characters all planned out long term, like he might have came up with all their designs and powers within, you know, a couple weeks or something, is what the rumor is. And the idea to me that's funny is he knows all of these characters' powers and he's showing them off to us without explaining what's happening. And then for a lot of them, we will not get an explanation for, again, literal decades. So you're just left with these pieces of Sabaody Archipelago of, okay, what the hell did they do? Can I possibly figure out what his power is, or do I just wait 600 chapters to find out? Hawkins, yeah, he had like 2 weird scarecrow things on his arm, right? After he He's kind of showing off those 2 attacks didn't hurt him until he finally did get hurt. He turned into like a big scarecrow man. What's up? What the fuck? So he could like predict the future. He knows the odds of survival. He can transport it, or teleport his pain to somebody else, transfer it somehow, and he turns into a scarecrow man. What the fuck fruit would this be?
Well, I feel like the scarecrow has something kind of reminds me of like a what's that Pokemon attack called? Substitutes, where like they land an attack and it's that didn't do anything because you hit the substitute. But the sub fruit could be a lot of things. It could be turning into Jared Fogle maybe, so you don't want that one. I don't know.
Delicious sandwiches though.
That's right. Love the meatballs. And speaking of a man who's the human version of a meatball, Mad Monk, Rogue,
we haven't finished. We got to finish Hawkins. You didn't give us your ranking of him, S through D. Do you have any other thoughts on him?
Well, the reason why he was my top of mind is because he was the least, comprehensible to me, I guess. Like, I just didn't really quite get it. I mean, I feel like I got some, but, there was some that I just didn't. So, I think I'm just gonna probably... I'd hate to give him, a C, because that seems awfully low.
You can give him a C.
Yeah,
Most of these characters are not that beloved. Nobody's gonna care if fucking Hawkins gets a C.
Yeah, I feel like he's got more to offer, but I just don't feel like I saw it here. So, very middle of the road for me on this one, and that's where I'm going to put a C at. Just really neither here nor there.
Okay, Mad Monk of Rouge. It sounds like you want to go to him. From Sky Island, lowest bounty, 108. Out of all of them, the lowest.
Yeah, so that might come off of him being more of a brawler, perhaps, but I don't know. That might not necessarily be... So then I don't know what Drake's bounty is. I wasn't paying attention to that, but he kind of, I feel like, would fit.
Drake was 222.
Okay. But I really liked Urog. I'm gonna call him Urog.
I don't know.
I liked him in Volume 51. Like he's had a good energy. Like his smile, just like I like that. He's kind of got like this mischievous, like he knows anything could happen at any moment. Real pirate energy that I really enjoy. And in this one, with him being a sky person, I don't know if the wings were visible in Volume 51. I don't remember if I remember that being the case, but he is a sky person, and he is able to bulk up and just go supersize. And I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought that it was a good compliment to his energy because he just feels like he could be a gentle giant, but also, you can definitely handle biz when the time is right. So maybe he just doesn't have all these super special powers other than that to give him like
it seems like getting beat up made him stronger and bigger, I think was the implication, because he even thanked, was it the Kuma, the pacifista, he thanked him for doing so much damage, and then he was like fucking ginormously big next to Hawkins when he wasn't previously. So
Berserker style.
Yeah, so does he have like a Berserker? Is that like a thing? A power from any video games or anime where getting hit makes you stronger. That's a thing?
Yeah, it's the OVA, so it's not my preferred telling of the story, but Record of Lotus War in the Dragon Knight OVA, which is like, I think one that a lot of people are probably more familiar with, like 1980 series or whatever. There's is that Orson, I believe is his name. He's got a Berserker type of thing, and it's really bad. It's kind of played for Rogue here, like, this is a positive. You're kind of filling my power meter by me taking damage. But Orson in that series, it's like the Berserker gives him a lot of energy, but he loses his humanity. He basically turns into almost like a zombie, to where he goes into a bloodlust and a killing spree where he'll kill everybody until it wears off, and then he comes back to his senses. It's almost like how Kuro has cat out of the bag where he can't really control it. Orson in Lotus War is he'll literally kill his. I think that's something that happened in his backstory, is that he killed his whole entire village and had to leave as a wanted man and become a great knight to try and for his own internal battle. But I might be remembering that incorrectly. But what I'm not remembering incorrectly is that he's a horrible bloodlust berserker that will kill everybody until his bloodlust wears off. So
Arouge's title is Mad Monk. which is like, a religious context. And when he uses his attack, Berserker mode, I think it had karma in the name, as in like, oh, you dealt me this damage, now karma's going to deal it back to you. So I wonder if he has some sort of karma fruit or something like that. And I only ask because we still don't know. We still don't know. But that would make sense to me. Any final thoughts, and what's your ranking for Arouge?
I guess as charming and everything as he is, I think I will give him a B, actually. Just because I feel like versus like Drake, he's better than Drake. Just like Kendrick. Well, we rap hip hop beef news.
Is that your way of saying we should do Drake next? You don't like T-Rex, man? Yeah. You could, now that we've seen these characters, we can play them in Burning Blood. You can just become a T-Rex and get punched by Luffy. Isn't that your dream?
It absolutely is. You're damn right. Yeah. That's going to be the best way for me to recover from this new Robert De Niro movie on Wednesday. I'm going to need a T-Rex session.
Hey, It might be good. It's probably good. Well. Why do you hate Drake, the fallen naval officer turned pirate?
I just feel like for everybody else that we see here, he is displaying the least amount of personality. I'd probably say like maybe Basil Hawkins would be the second least, but his existence, he basically just walks into frame and Scratchman Apu just looks at me like, oh, it's rare. It's just one of the rarest zone type devil fruits. And he turns into the T-Rex.
The silhouette of a T-Rex. We don't even get to see it, I don't think.
No,
we do get to see it.
I think there's a couple panels that kind of, it's just like basically just the bite down, more or less, that we see, and then he just gets trounced right away.
Pathetic.
So definitely, I could definitely see him in a situation where this is going to be like a really cool thing, but I think with all the chaos going on, all the Marines running around, Kizaru doing his thing, it just wasn't really the best place and time for Drake to really exhibit the extent of his power.
Would you be curious to learn his backstory of why he went from a Marine to a pirate?
Well, what I would like it to be is, him seeing some bad behaviors by like the world government or something like that and being like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm a rebel with a cause. Let me get this dragon fruit or this dinosaur fruit. Dino fruit. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the T-Rex Rex fruit.
I think Oda put them as like dragon fruit and modeled dinosaur T-Rex. Like for some reason dinosaurs are considered dragons. Or maybe it's vice versa, but it's one of those.
Well, I will allow that because they say that, I think that was a new study that just came out. We know that they say our modern birds are the descendants of dinosaurs like T-Rex. Now they're saying T-Rexes used to go like, apparently. So that's
did they have feathers like a chicken?
I think that's probably is in the same ballpark as saying that they made bird noises. That's just our best guess, maybe.
Yeah, how could we possibly know what noise something made 64 million years ago? How do you replicate a sound based on bones?
That's a very good question.
Their vocal cords could have been made of diamonds, for all we know, right? They could have been making some crazy sounds back then. Probably not, though.
My guess is, in whatever underground laboratories with Mole Man where they're recreating extinct species off of bone fragments, they probably made a T-Rex that was making bird noises. They're like, they're never going to believe this one, dude. Put that shit in the fucking newspaper, dude. It's pretty funny.
Spielberg's going to make a movie out of this one, folks. Who do we have next? We did 3. Did you give a ranking to Drake? D for Drake?
You know what, to be honest, yeah.
D for Dinosaur, D for Drake?
Yeah.
Put him X tier for Drake?
He's in his own tier.
Would this blow your mind? Drake? Because it's written as X Drake, right? Just the letter X? What if I told you that letter X is supposed to be 10, and actually it's, I believe the Spanish word for 10 is Diaz? Because they call him Diaz Drake. The X is meant to be pronounced as Diaz. Is Diaz what's the Spanish word for 10? What does Diaz mean? It's got
uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis,
siete, ocho, nueve, diez.
I think I only ever got to 9 in Spanish class.
Yeah, I think Diaz is 10, so I guess he's like a Spanish conquistador dragon man who's named Diaz Drake. But I call him X Drake because that sounds cooler.
Yeah, and he's got the big X on his face. I call him 10 Drake. It kind of sounds like there's...
it sounds like Josh's reaction when he reads Drake's text messages. 10, Drake? She was 10?
Sorry, I was thinking of Mandrake when what I was thinking of now.
Okay.
He's got a lot of elements here. It might be, I mean, honestly, considering everybody other than maybe Scratchman, Apu, Killer, I guess, like just off of the variables in their character, a lot of interesting possibilities that are not really at all displayed here other than the zone type transformation. So that's why he's bottom for me, I think.
Completely fair. Do you have a next one in mind, or should I start picking?
Well, let's talk about homeboy Capone Beige.
Who you said was boring and generic last week. Do you still feel the same way?
Well, I must say that I do not. He definitely knew how to surprise me. I was thinking at first, well, very first, I'm like, oh, this is some, on the day of my daughter's wedding, he's over here doing, I'm thinking he was like Drake for me, just like, very linear, one note kind of guy. I mean, not saying that Drake is, but for what Drake shows in 52, that's what I was getting off Capone in 51. But yeah, all of a sudden, we see like these giant Marines being shot. Like, oh, where are these giant Marines coming from? Oh no, he's got these attackers on like a platform coming out of his waistline. So I'm like, oh, what is this? He's got like a utility belt or something. And then all of a sudden he's got this cavalry just launching out of his body and going. And I was like, oh fuck! And then you can see them behind his eyes. I'm like, okay, this guy's on some other shit. Like, I don't even. Like, what kind of? I mean, it'd be one thing to have like maybe like a Frankie style cyborg suit or something to where you could like somehow launch like capsule core cavalry type and like have things land on the ground like pokeballs and pop open with like, okay, there's some leeway that I can kind of work with there from the very beginning, but yeah, if we could see like soldiers in your eyes, like, yeah, to be honest,
it keeps cutting you out when you perhaps when you curse, but
you know what? That's off of the better Discord. They knows I'm not supposed to be using the bad words.
Yeah.
I don't understand how a man gets soldiers behind his eyes unless he's traumatized by war. That's all I'm saying.
There's like this invisible barrier sort of surrounding him, and you could see the miniature things inside of him as they cross the barrier. They would grow and get bigger again. So what do you make of this power? He's like a human ship, basically.
Yeah, I guess that would be the best way to describe him, like a human. There's a word for it, like infantry transporter, but yeah, I guess ship works just as good.
Is that a good symbolic power for a mafia boss to like he could have his whole gang and family literally inside of him?
I would say so. Yeah, I think it definitely matches his image more than I immediately get, referential from like Drake or Hawkins. It's kind of like not as much maybe as Apu, but well, I mean, I guess Capone Beige is pretty much as decked out in mafioso imagery as he could be. So yeah, he's got like a penguin from the Batman kind of look in his face. He's got the 5 o'clock shadow on his mustache, like cigar, everything like that. So
would you like to see all of the Straw Hats inside of Beige one day?
Hey, for all I know, that might be how that might come up within a short amount of time. If they need an escape, maybe they'll all hop inside with his people. Maybe Luffy's going to be eating a big plate of spaghetti.
Yeah, decked out in like a fedora and mafia coat.
Straw Hats, yeah, doing some mafioso shit. That'd be pretty gangster. I can get down with that.
But interestingly, Capone Gang Beige, his bounty's only 138, which is lower than Jewelry Bonnie, who has 140. So this one man, he's like a one-man tank full of people who can shoot cannonballs at you that expand and get full-sized as they come out. He's less dangerous than this little girl, which I want you to explain her powers after you tell us where Gang Beige is on your tier list.
I feel like in theory he could be A tier if he utilized his ability as we understand it. I feel like it's definitely got potential. I feel like where it stands in its usage in this volume, I'd probably say a B, because we see that it's effective. It's certainly more effective than Drake, more effective than Hawkins.
More creative too, like, oh, I can transform into a dinosaur. I've never seen this power. Whatever the fuck Beige is doing, this is unique to One Piece.
Yeah.
But is this unique? What the fuck is Bonnie doing?
Well, I have to say, I'm going to harken back to my sentiments on her from the last volume. I think it's just a sign of the times. I'm like, oh, this girl, she's turning into a child for advantageous reasons. I was like, is this Catch a Predator type shit? I don't know what's going on. It's just the state of the world these days. It's making me read things in ways that maybe I wouldn't have read. But thankfully, that's not all she wrote, folks. No, Jewelry Bonnie, she's able to apparently manipulate the age of any person. She uses her abilities on a swath of Marines and turns some of them into small children and some of them into extremely elderly people. So when I see that, I have to think to myself, okay, we're all thinking it. Couldn't she just turn everybody into like 200 years old and they just disintegrate and die instantly?
Yes, she could. It would seem that she can. Is this an extremely overpowered fruit? Like, we don't know the range of this. Like, do they revert back to themselves later? Like, even Law is like replacing people's body parts and making all these Marines into abominations. Do they become normal when he leaves, or are they fucked for life? Are these Marines gonna die of old age soon now?
I feel like with Bonnie, I have to say for her even more than Law that I feel like this has to have a reversible or a time window, because if not, this could be the most powerful fruit, because you could just constantly make yourself like de-age 10 years and you could literally be like 20 years old for all of time. So
immortal, yeah. Very well, could be.
I mean, maybe beyond that, you could say, oh, well, doesn't have like the offensive power perhaps as some other abilities, but just I would consider this to be an extremely strong power all the same, since you can.
What does Don Krieg do? You walk up and you turn him into a baby.
Be crushed to death by all the armor.
Yes, it's over, dude. Like, how do you defend against that? Will the Straw Hats ever go head-to-head with Bonnie? It'd have to defeat her and her crew as babies and or old people.
Well, if for some reason she just decided to leave them as like teenagers or something, like a Titan version of Straw Hats could be a fun little excursion.
I think they are teenagers.
Oh, wait, that's right, yeah. So, okay, like 9-year-olds, yeah.
No, I'd say you don't even need to change Robin's age. I keep forgetting I'm literally older than Robin now in real life, which is fucking tragic. Kill me.
Only 70 more years, you know what? All fine, let's go.
Hopefully One Piece ends within 70 fucking years. So what would you rank Bonnie?
How I said similarly with Capone, there's definitely a lot of potential here. But I feel like as strong as this power can be, I feel like what we see in this volume, it's not super offensive. It's more of like a tactical defense move to incapacitate some of them. Let's see, who did I start? I gave Hawkins a C. I guess I would say maybe a little bit more offensive power than Hawkins, I guess. Like a B-, I guess, to TBH.
Hey, that's fair. We've done, 5 or 6 of these? So let's see if you can name the rest of them, although I think you might have wrote them down or something, so it might be easier to...
Well, yeah. I'm going to touch on, I know, because I put him shoulder to shoulder, just as he was in the manga here with Luffy. Eustace Bags. I mean, kid. The magnet
Stupid
man.
dog! You make me look bad. Booga booga booga. I saw that HBO Max is taking all the cartoons off their service. Now they're not accessible anywhere, including Courage. And people on Twitter were posting links where you could download all the episodes for free from some server. So, long live piracy. If they're not going to let us have it, even when we pay for it, literally go fuck yourself. We need Courage.
I have to say, I think HBO Max is probably, it's just tough running, but it could be the worst streaming service that ever existed. It's gone up and down like numerous times over the years, and it's just always terrible and always ends up going back down again because they just can't figure out how to make it work. So too bad that, that Turner gave them Cartoon Network and Adult Swim to all their properties and just fried it all. So
yeah, they better put it somewhere, or I don't know. Kids would
Blu-rays
rather
on
watch
portable
TikTok
SD.
today anyway. They're not watching Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's too scary.
True, but so Mr. Kid and Mr. Eustace. Yeah,
What is Kid's power, Eggy?
he's must be the magnet fruit, if I had to guess.
Magneto in One Piece. I mean, Magneto, he's like the most powerful X-Man, right? How's Luffy gonna fight this dude?
Well, probably helps that he doesn't have like too much metal going on. Zoro.
Yeah, Zoro would
for
be
sure.
fucked. Yeah. He could take Zoro's
Yeah.
swords and throw them at Luffy.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. He's definitely, especially against the Marines, of course, because he's able to disarm all of them with just immediately take their guns. Versus Devil Fruit users, I feel like he's gonna have something similar to like how Blue Nose door fruit. You know, like, oh, you can just make a door like in a wall and then come somewhere else or whatever. But then he's like turning your head into a door and making your head flip around. I feel like Kid would have like similar powers where, okay, we see him in this volume, he's using his fruit to disarm the Marines, but maybe he could like switch the polarity of a certain amount of land or something and like make shit like start flying around and like mess with gravity or something too by like switching magnetism of the land around or something like that. So
That
I
might
feel
be a
like,
nice ultimate power for this kind of fruit to have. Like his version of Gear 3.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Because I think we're also getting to that level in the One Piece universe where everybody has definitely honed their devil fruit abilities to be a lot more than just what they were on the first day surface level and all this is what I could do. They've utilized
Getting
some of the
creative
finer-
with them.
That's right.
Yeah. We learn. So I was uncomfortable with learning about Kid that he would attack civilians and, innocent people, and that's why he has the highest bounty and he's the most notorious. But we get an answer to that, actually, that I low-key forgot about. Luffy tells Lod Kid that he's gonna find the One Piece. Kid says on their way here, when they said that, people would laugh at them, and each and every time they killed everyone who laughed. So I think the implication is, innocent people, but they laughed at his dream of finding the One Piece and being Pirate King, so they had to die. Not ideal, but still better than acts of random violence. It shows that he's pretty hardcore and serious about finding the One Piece, because up to this point, has Luffy had an actual rival for this goal? Not really, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so, because even going back to Jaya, they didn't believe any of that bullshit. They're like, stop being so stupid. Get your head out of the clouds, you dumb punk. And
yeah, so basically, Kid would have killed Bellamy and everybody in the bar is the implication, which, I guess it's probably justified, but... So do you like Kid?
Yeah, I think I enjoyed his... kind of in the same way how I liked Rogue's energy throughout, just kind of like, oh, that's how it is, huh? Oh, so that's how they're over there. Hey, okay, I see what's going on. Kid, he kind of has had a similar seen him around in his observations and interactions now in this volume with the Straw Hats. He's kind of like, no judgment. He's just like, he's a man about action, and he sees the actions going on, and he's just ready to. He doesn't want to fight Kizaru, of course. None of them do. That's kind of a thing. They're trying to get away from that if they can help it, but that's obviously understandable once we see Kizaru in action.
Yeah, when they're all in the auction house, he does act like the big dick Giga Chad. He says, "Oh, don't worry, everybody. I'll go take care of the Marines by myself." And there's, it's a comedic to me. Pedal of Law and Luffy both looking pissed, like, "Oh, we're not letting him take the spotlight." And then next time we see them, it's all three of them side by side. I like that Oda's, planting this rivalry between these three pirate captains. Right when they meet each other, pretty much.
Real recognize real, as they say. So,
any other thoughts on Kid and where he places?
So based on, I'd probably say maybe a little bit of personal bias here, because like I said, I enjoy the kind of the energy he's been giving off. Like Basil, he's kind of seems like a little bit autistic, maybe. Capone, he's an old Italian guy. Drake, I don't know what to make of him yet. But Kitty, he's just, I like the energy he's been giving off. He's able to do all this disarmament, which is very helpful. I think compared to overall, it's in the upper half of the Supernova abilities that are used here over these couple volumes. And I think there's a lot more potential to it. It's just an inkling I have. So I want to say I would give him probably like a B+.
Okay. What about his subordinate, Killer?
Well, as much as I liked Killer and I thought Killer looked super cool, I actually don't think I wrote down, because I remember Killer does some kind of combat here, and I don't think I wrote that down. I wrote down what Beepo had.
Beppo, yes, the karate polar bear. I was going to ask you, who would you rather have as your first mate, Beppo or Killer?
Well, Killer was a strong first impression, probably because I mained Valdo in Soul Calibur. There's some parallels to their design that just was very attention-grabbing for me. But I think after this volume, Beppo just left more of an overall impression. The tactical ability, the offensive ability of Beppo. I think we saw more offensive ability displayed by Beppo in this than I'd say maybe equivalent to Drake. Probably more than Drake, to be honest, because really Drake just gets one bite, and I think he might do a grab with like some claws or something and bite. But I think Beppo is able to get more complete attacks off. So I would say his offensive ability's got to be at least equivalent to like Capone, or maybe close to it. Maybe Capone might have got some more guys down the net, but
there's a reason why polar bears still exist today, but dinosaurs don't. Okay, evolutionary speaking, right. The polar bear is superior, and Oda knows the facts.
So yeah, I did not even write down Killer's fight. I guess it was just so forgettable that I just did not leave an impression.
I think he saves Kid from getting stabbed while Kid is like upset about something that Luffy said thereabouts, because that's when he brings up, "Hey, Killer, remember how people laughed at us and we killed them all?" So I think that was the moment. So Beppo's not a supernova, but you're saying he's S tier. He's better than all of the supernova.
Well, I am an animal lover in the best way, and I think just
what if he's wearing an orange jumpsuit like Naruto, and he speaks English, and then he like apologizes for being able to talk? We know why Chopper can talk. Why can Beppo speak?
Well, we don't have any inclination now that it's his own fruit, so yeah, we just have to. He's just like the walking bear, the hiking bear, the fashion bear. There's a lot of great bears that have been doing a lot of great things.
And so homeboy Papagoo, like 1 or 2 volumes ago, said, "Hey, I thought I could speak, and then I taught myself how. The mind is a wonderful thing." So maybe he's a bear who just decided he wanted to speak.
Yeah, and if somebody like Chopper with his own type fruit, if he can comprehend other animal speech, maybe Beppo just was in contact with his own fruit user, and they were able to
teach him,
get him. Yeah,
Rosetta Stone that shit somehow, teach him everything.
So big ups, Killer. probably, to be honest, I've got to be honest, probably a D tier here because it's kind of forgettable, even though very strong first impressions. If I wanted to go based off of just how cool he looks and everything.
Yeah, tie it all in.
Okay. I'll go for a C+.
Okay.
You know.
What about Homeboy Law? And who else is after Law? Did we get everybody? Because we're not doing Luffy and Zoro, I imagine.
Right. We got Scratchman Apu.
I thought we already fucking did him. God damn it. Fine, let's do Apu. Fine, we'll do Law then.
No. I'll definitely say Law.
Law is my best. He's my goat.
So, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a cool light up Mr. Law up there.
I haven't lit him up for a little bit, but maybe now that he's in the story, I should light him back up.
He was definitely lit in this volume. What? As the young people say. Turn him up. Oh. Oh, shit. See, that's what I need. I just need a... I got a little bit of space.
Folks.
I could, maybe one of these days I'll move my microphone a little bit off to the side so it's not just taking up like 8% of my total screen. So I got some of this opening down here, get a neon light down in this business of some kind. That'd be pretty cool. I see a lot of podcasters have a neon. If you're listening right now, drop your neon light recommendation in the comments, folks, because I'm trying to get right like homeboy Captain over here. All right, but Scratchman, I'm a music man myself. His appearance was just like Killer, very visually engaging right off the bat. Yeah, I guess I just kind of unknowingly called his... Oda gave you some good clues as to what his ability was. The Roar of the Seas, the music man himself. So I like how he plays it kind of tactically. I like how he's kind of, given his observation. I'm kind of not... what's that? There's that INTJ scale or whatever. And I think the J is for... Or no, it's like J and P, and like P is like perception or something. So that I don't follow any of that astrology stuff anyway. But Scratchman Apu, he's kind of got like that stand back, stand by, kind of feel out the situation before he acts.
Is he the one whose attitude was running away isn't fun? I should like piss people off and then run away. He just wanted to interfere in the fight and then run, and then did he get killed by the Yaramir when Kizaru went really fast across like the whole city and blew his ass up?
I do believe that's how he got him, yes. I think he did.
So he's a big shithead. He's a shit stirrer who he could have ran away, but he wanted to get involved, and then he got punished for it. So he's a freak to me. He's a big freak.
He's a big freakish man who just is randomly musical. He's wearing some over-ear headphones. He likes to troll and cause shit, and and cause some disruptions. What a terrible person
that would be. Fine, you can cosplay as him, Eggy. It's fine. You can be Scratchman, and I'll be Law.
I think those exact glasses that he's wearing are the ones that I was using for that King Cobra video. But I did find the round ones now too. I was digging through some shit and found those again. But I think I own those exact shades that he's wearing. They're actually. They're styled like Cartier glasses, which are very popular with Detroit musicians going back to Motown. So maybe that could even be a very, very... I'm not going to dox myself on the finer points of Mr. Apu at this point by reading his Wikipedia or anything.
Yeah,
but
do not.
Could be something up in there to, I ain't going to rule it out. If you know, you know. But...
I think what's unfortunate about Apu is that at some point they made a documentary about his voice actor and how it was inappropriate, and now he's not really in One Piece anymore. They said the problem with Apu.
Oh, yeah. They said that was Scratch Card Apu. He was selling the scratch cards.
Slurpy Apu, but that's not as funny. Yeah, good pun there with Apu. So he gets in what, A rank, S rank for you? God tier?
I like that he was used as kind of a way for us to, have like a bird's eye view on the situation. I like his design, his power. I feel like there's more to it that I have yet to understand, but it seems pretty strong. It's got a good offensive ability, a wide area of... and I think I'll just throw my personal bias into it. I'm feeling like, good A on Scratchman Apu for me personally.
Top of the heap?
Well, other than the man who could disassemble his band, if you know what I'm saying, that would be Trafalgar Law, that I'm only ever going to call Law, because name that's too hard for me to get wrong every time.
Law's number 1.
That's right.
Oh my God. We both have God tier taste. Tell me about Law.
Well, like I said, I've already mentioned in this episode, and I'll mention it hundreds of times more in the future, I'm sure. My proclivity for video game style things that tickle my fancy, and an area of effect bubble in which your body can start to be disassembled at some sort of, I won't say molecular level, but just like your major body parts could just be like removed, rearranged, and reassembled, and all kinds of things. Yeah, it's the reverse chop fruit, but I don't know if it would have a similar name or not, though.
Do you know the name of this fruit?
I know he says room maybe I get the room fruit, that he generates the area of effect bubble that could...
Law is the surgeon of death, and this fruit is called the op fruit. So chop and op. Actually very similar names. And similar powers as well. Just Buggy does it to himself, and Law does it to other people, pretty much.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that unlike Buggy, these people have no control over what is happening to their body parts. Like, it's not just that they're being separated and that they could will themselves into a complete state or using one of their pieces of themselves offensively. But I think the fact that even they're not... it doesn't put them into a state of shock or anything like that at all. It's really, truly terrifying.
Yeah, the guy's his decapitated head was still breathing. He could feel his body burning. So it's like you're still connected and operational, but you're just like magically, physically separated.
Yeah, just like this could possibly be the worst hell that anybody could have inflicted on them by a devil fruit at this point. I mean, I would say Blackbeard and now Kizaru are, given a run for your money, but, with one of those attacks, it's just like, oh, here's my energy beam. Yeah, this is like, oh, hey, I just literally shoved your head up your ass, and you're still like constant breathing. You can feel it on both sides, and it's the most horrible torture that anybody could ever possibly imagine.
Yeah, how does Luffy defeat Law if they have a 1v1?
Well, it does get... reined in a little bit by, it seems like it needs to be within the area of effect bubble that he generates, this room. And I do not know, we see the scope that he uses it in this volume is not super extreme. Like you could definitely get caught. It could get you cornered somewhere in a building or something like that. There's definitely good ways to deploy it that would make it very difficult to escape the effects of it, but in this more open situation that they're in, I think it plays well here because they have this mass of Marines that they can have deployed onto, and you're able to impact a lot of them in this compacted area. But I think generally speaking, out there in the free world with somebody like Luffy, because I guess that was at the end of the last volume. It was in the episode that we watched where Zoro was like reaches down and, pulls Zoro up. He's got good range with that gum fruit, and he could probably swing himself around like the monkey D. Luffy that he is off some of his environment to evade it. But then also, I assume that he could kind of deploy it like a portal from the video game Portal. We could just be like, pshh, 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 pshh.
Yeah, because he's teleporting shit around, so even if you try to fight him, like if Usopp was going to snipe him, because you might want to fight him with ranged weapons, he might just fire that shit right back at you somehow. So Law might also be overpowered. Maybe that's what op means for op fruit, is the overpowered fruit.
Yeah, I like the double meaning, like inverse chop, and also definitely, yeah. Definitely
and op is in like operation room.
And op is in, he the op against Luffy, because
that's right.
In these streets they say, that's my ops right there when it's the opposition, the opponent, and he might be Luffy's rival. I mean,
and you're a Napoleon historian, right? Didn't Napoleon have some battle at Trafalgar? That's famous.
It did not immediately register to me, so
okay.
To be
maybe
honest.
I don't know enough about the history of fucking Europe to care, but I'm sure if we looked up what Trafalgar Law means, Maybe we'll get some historical insight, but we're not going to spoil Eggy by doing that. Maybe we'll wait for a future date.
Well, I just happened to Google it. Yeah, there was a Battle of Trafalgar, which was a naval engagement that took place on October 21st, 1805, between the Navy and a combined fleet of the French and Spanish navies.
Okay. So maybe one day that'll be relevant, maybe not. Where does Law rank? And remember, he has Beppo as a first mate, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, if I want to do the Beppo Law package here, if I want to put them together, there's no doubt it's an S rank. I feel like, I ain't going to be too much of a T rider. That's the Trafalgar version of the rider. So if I want to say, I definitely would give them like an A+, I think. And then Beppo gets an S. So if they want to be a package deal, they can both be S. But if I want to rank them on their own merits, Beppo, he's a talking combat bear with swag. So S rank for swag rank. And Law, you know what? He'll put your A in your A. I'm talking about your ass, and you're gonna feel it. So that's the double A, evens out to A+.
And Discord is still being a hater and randomly cutting out your mic, so maybe we'll find a way to fix that for next episode. We have been going 90 minutes, Eggy, but I still have a few other points of detail from this volume. There's just so much here in Sabaody. The detail of, after Luffy punches Charlos, it's revealed Zoro was just about to cut him down anyway, so this was inevitable. It doesn't matter that Luffy did it. But then, hey, it's not just the thought that counts. What counts is actually harming these Israeli men. I mean, these celestial dragons, and doing the one thing you're not supposed to do. Luffy is not the only one to attack them. I loved to see that homeboy Usopp and fucking Roswald is saying some of the darkest shit we've ever seen in One Piece dialogue. I'm going to gut and stuff the women and starve the men while using them as slaves. No longer is this the cartoony, pirate anime for kids. We got some fucked up slavery shit in here like never before. But homeboy Usopp falls from the sky, hits this dude with his ass, smashes his face into the ground. Far more humiliating and disturbing than what Luffy even did to Charlos. So the fact that Zoro wanted to cut these guys down a handful of times, but was stopped by Bonnie, stopped by Luffy. But Usopp actually did it, folks. And I feel like very often we're getting this parallel of Luffy and Usopp being like the two key figures against the world government. Luffy tells Usopp to shoot down the world government flag. Usopp's the key to saving Robin. What is the deal with Usopp? Is he going to be just as important as Luffy to saving the day, end game? He's the only other character in history to attack a celestial dragon, even if it was by accident.
What I would have to say for what I could probably give Usopp as a character is that I feel like he, in a good way, I mean this, that he is maybe more of a flawed character, and that his deeper flaws perhaps than somebody like Nami or Zoro or Sanji or Chopper can also then, him having these greater depths can allow him to dig himself up from that and reach greater heights and greater peaks as well. So I feel like, Zoro, like we had in Thriller Bark, that was a vulnerable moment for him where he was willing to take this part of Luffy's pain onto himself. So there's things like that, but just the way that Usopp's character is generally gives me that feeling that, we can see him, he's coming up from a lower origin point, like lower base point maybe, and I think that gives him enough range to
the
go
most
further
dramatic potential.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think Oda is one who loves to take advantage of dramatic potential and have the highest highs possible, because why wouldn't you, trying to tell the most dramatic, exciting story possible? That's why I think the final arc of One Piece is going to be like the most villainous villain winning the day, because what stakes are higher than the villain won? And now, I mean, that's fucking spoiler alert, that's how the Avengers series gets good, is that the villain wins at the end of Avengers 3, and Avengers 4 is about, oh, we lost. And I think One Piece will have a similar thing. I think it'll be as dramatic and epic as possible, with everybody at their lowest point, and Luffy and Usopp being the gods of the new world and saving the day. That's my prediction. You guys think Zoro is so important? No. He's the wings of the Pirate King, folks. Okay, him and Sanji, they're off to the side. They're just supporting Luffy. Usopp is his own god. He's his own master. And hardcore prediction, he will be as important as Luffy at saving the day. Mark my words, folks. It's gotta be. It's gotta be. Anything else from this volume, Eggy? Because that was my last point, was Usopp attacked a celestial dragon.
Well, with the attack on the celestial dragons, really, I mean, you could say that it was Cammy's kidnapping that was the catalyst, but it was really Hachi being shot down. I think that was really the final straw. And we do get, as we were talking earlier about Silver's Rayleigh in the Shaka's bar, talking about some of the old lore with the Oro Jackson crew. He knew Hachi because Hachi saved him many years ago. So Hachi was actually, had even more goodness in him than what we even knew up to this point. That he helped Silver's Rayleigh become the great man that he is today.
Yeah, really, his only bad qualities emerged when he was associating with a scumbag like Arlong. So I guess left to his own devices, Hachi's a very decent, nice guy. That's just a lesson. Hey, sometimes don't fall in with the wrong crowd, because it'll rub off on you and make you look like a piece of shit who maybe in the future people won't want to save you from a cage. But thankfully Nami is very kind-hearted here and forgiving.
And I also wanted to just make the point that kind of before the arrival of Kizaru, which then kind of starts on the Supernovas versus Kizaru, Pacifista versus Straw Hats and all that goes on, Disco, who I think I said that Disco was a guy who was excusing human trafficking last time. I don't know if the guy who was excusing human trafficking is identified. He's just like a guy who's just at the front of the auction house, because it's not Disco. I was perhaps mistaken there. But after everything goes down and the slaves escape and all that, Disco makes contact to mention what's going on with Doflamingo, and he said, hey, don't worry, shut that shop down, because we got bigger fish to fry. Whitebeard pirates versus the 7 warlords. And I don't think we get anything else from that before it cuts back into what's going on outside. But I mean, we kind of knew about that in the last volume. We were talking about the everybody gets the flyers falling out of the sky about Ace's execution and stuff. So, and that was it was going to inspire this conflict. But we didn't get anything from Doflamingo. I don't think we've seen him since back after Crocodile went down. So.
Yeah, and specifically, Doflamingo says, the slave trade is getting old. This is the era of the smile. What do you make of that? The era of the smile instead of slavery.
What it reminds me of is Brave New World.
Let's hear it.
There used to be an old, what do you call that? Like, this old picture that would go around back in the day, like in the early quote-unquote red pill days online, where people were talking about the Illuminati or whatever. The idea is, how do you control people with pain, or do you control them with pleasure? The era of the smile versus the era of slavery makes me think of controlling somebody with pleasure versus controlling somebody with pain. So overload them with a whole lot of great, fantastic podcasts. Make sure to like and subscribe, by the way. If you're having a good smile just like me,
if you give the masses a reason to laugh, they'll ignore the poverty and distress of the society that you're perpetuating.
That's right. And I think it could even go into, this is how I read it generally, but something that I talk about every now and then is there's a lot that somebody can get away with if they're funny. And so, in our current political climate, not to get too political, but maybe certain people that if maybe they're engagement in bad and unsavory behavior begins to outweigh their entertainment value, then you might see, the killing of the hero, so to speak, of, getting turned on by your base. So
you got to come up with a lot of funny nicknames for your enemies to outweigh raping children on an island. So good luck to Donnie.
That's right.
I mean, we could probably talk about this volume for another hour. We didn't really dive into the cover stories yet, where Rob Lucci wakes up from his surgery that they successfully paid for. And I don't think, was he not invited to bowling? Are they just bowling while he's waking up, or was he there? I didn't see him there.
Let's see, would I have that here somewhere? What? I don't remember necessarily noting him. I kind of, I believe he's bowling with them. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, maybe he is, but is Khalifa bowling and it's just an explosion because she's so strong that the ball explodes the pins? Can they not hold back maybe a little bit when playing a game? It seems a little unfun if you're just gonna blow up the bowling alley.
Yeah, I mean that. For continuity side, but I guess it's a good thing that the next cover story has Rob and Hatsuri. Rob's about to throw his ball, and then there's people reporting to the police that they're being attacked by the Candy Pirates.
And then everybody's praising them as heroes for fighting off these Candy Pirates. That's how it ends. So happy arc trajectory for these characters for you, Eggy. They go from wanted villains or whatever to heroes now.
It's tracking with the cover story path, and I thought that the design of the prominent Candy Pirate, I guess, captain was interesting. He kind of something about his appearance reminded me of the mountain pirates from Romance Dawn. They kind of have like a bit of a Mongolian thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So. But then there's like a fucking like elf or something too that's like some kind of goblin thing, some sort of like man with no chin. Maybe this is just what you turn into if you eat too much candy, you turn into a total freak. But what the captain is having is also a beer, so frankly, who's really the bad guy?
And with that, Eggy, I think we've covered everything that was in this volume, other than, I guess there's still a little bit more when they're talking about the past and they want to know what's the true history. Rayleigh says, even if I told you everything in history right now, there is nothing you could do about it. The answer you will arrive at may be different from ours, even after you see the world in its entirety at your own pace. What do you make of that, Eggy?
Well, my knee-jerk reaction is like, this could have been the end of the series here. Well, what happened to everything in the world?
It's cutting you off again. Why does it cut you off when you talk like that? What's the deal? We got to turn off the filters or something.
Maybe it is, could be I'm talking too much truth.
Yeah, they're censoring you. They don't want you to spoil for the real virgins in the audience.
Yeah, so what I was saying before my microphone, it is a little bit old. I probably had it for 5 years. It's time for a refresher. But anyway, I could have just ended the story right there. Like, what happened across the entire world? Well, Robin, you were from O'Hara, and you know how to read poneglyphs and everything. So let me just tell you everything that ever happened. All right, it's the end of the story.
But he says, even if I told you, it wouldn't matter, which I think is interesting.
That was my knee-jerk stuff, but that's the thing of it, though, is that, to be honest, like in our world right now, if I said, oh, hey, I just woke up I had a vision, and I know all the secrets of the world, and I'm going to tell you all the secrets of the world right now, but then what? We didn't go through the chambers and the channels and the passages in which all of these things transpired in order to go and engage each part of this on our own, in order to have our own time with this piece of information or with this component and be able to engage and tangle with this, and then with this, and then with this. So we get dumped on all this information. I think even that kind of ties into the era of the smile, where you feel good about something because you've been dumped on with all this advantageous information. Oh, hey, I know how this goes, and I'm going to tell you about this secret stuff, and now you know it, and it makes you feel satisfied to know it. Like but nothing was actually engaged with. You weren't there to do anything about the situation or whatever. So I think maybe that could kind of play into it a little bit as well.
It reminds me of the lesson we learned in Thriller Bark, where getting the information that Brooke knows Laboon is one thing, but then actually seeing the flashback play out has so much more impact and context. So maybe that's the difference. Like, yeah, I could just give you this piece of information, but unless you go through the experience of discovering it for yourself in the context that it lays in within history, it's really going to be meaningless to you. And he says you might arrive at a different conclusion than we did. So he's even open-minded, like, yeah, the Roger Pirates found out the truth and we had one opinion, but maybe when you find the truth, you'll have a different opinion. And he's completely fine with that. Which is, it kind of blows my mind. Like, what the fuck could this be?
Well, I could just take it enough on the face value of just... you're going to hit these hurdles and you're going to overcome these challenges in your own specific way that is based on what your adventure has been so far, what your upbringing was, your engagements with different people from different parts of the world, different crews, different enemies and things like that. And so it's just also part, I think, of the natural passage of time of the new pirate era being something that wasn't what it is now, was not what it was when the Oro Jackson, really finished its conquest. So I think just of the nature of the world, of time, and of so many variables, it just makes it to where it has to be your own conclusions being reached about certain things and your own whole adventure overall as a complete series of adventures, I guess, versus what they went through. So that's why I read it after I kind of pondered a little bit. But yeah, my first thought was, where's it at? What do you mean you're not gonna tell me where the treasure's at?
And it's cutting you off even right now, but most of that got through. But what did you think of Luffy saying, I don't want to know if the One Piece even actually exists, and if you've ruined this mystery for me, I'm gonna quit being a pirate right now, because I'll never go on an adventure if it's not fun?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's his dream is to be the Pirate King, and if you just are trying to give him a shortcut cheat code and all that, I mean, that's not going to do anything for him. That's not going to help him realize anything that he wants to realize. It's like, I'm sure we've all done this before at least once. There's a game we're playing, I'm always going to be a video game man. There's a game you're playing and you just can't get past a certain part. It's frustrating. Oh my goodness, you want to just give up, and then you put in a cheat code to get past it. Now all the challenge is gone. It's like the game's not even worth playing anymore because everything that was interesting and engaging about it is now a non-factor.
It's like Luffy and Oda are yelling at the audience. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So fucking buckle up, we got 1,000 more chapters to go.
You're darn tootin'.
Okay, Eggy, any final thoughts or plugs or anything at all as we wrap up what might be our second longest episode?
That's right, folks. Well, great thing that we're doing a little bit early this week, because if any of you happen to live in Michigan, I didn't have it immediately handy, so let me just spitball a little bit here while I recall it. I'll
say me and Heartsy have been reviewing the new chapters, so check out the live streaming tab on the channel if you want to hear me and Heartsy review 1155 and 56. Go ahead, Eggy.
That's right. So I happened to be involved as a voice actor in a short film that is animated, and it's going to be premiering at Short Fest. The next showing and the final showing is in Michigan, and I just had the golly gee willikers, could have sworn that I had
basically watch it online, because you're not going to see this in person. Let's be honest, folks. It'll be online someday, right, Eggy?
Yeah, it'll be online soon. If you live in Michigan, you can just Google Short Fest. It's going to be on August 9th at, I think, the Capri Drive-In. But if you just Google Short Fest, you'll see it. And there's going to be a lot of great animators there that all have a lot of great films. Be And in the incredible film Diet Milk, it's really an ambitious project. It's got like 2D graphics, 3D CGI, stop motion, claymation, all meshed together, and it's really an incredible project. So I would highly recommend it. But at the very least, go look up Puke Bomb, all one word, spelled exactly as you'd think it to be spelled, on social media and YouTube. Subscribe and follow them, and you'll see that when it is uploaded. So go check that out.
And I'm dying to pee, so let's get out of here. Hopefully we'll get Eggy's microphone shit figured out for next time. We are going to do a live stream probably this coming Wednesday for the members of the channel to do our tier list of characters for the Water 7 saga, so stay tuned for that. And one peace, people.